Resolution was so close to impressing me. A lot closer than most of Series 11, but it feels like it was probably written in a hurry and at last minute because there were quite a lot of screamingly obvious flaws in it that I would have thought someone would have picked up on. Resolution isn't so much just one episode as it is two episodes with two very different reactions that they're aiming to elicit from the viewer, and they're fighting each other every step of the way. We've got the fun pulpy sci-fi story of a Dalek creature that's been buried on Earth for centuries, is uncovered and fights to make a new casing for itself and find weapons. And also we've got Ryan and Graham confronting Ryan's deadbeat dad about his failure to show up to Grace's funeral. It's just such a weird experience watching it play out, because one scene it's all, oh my god, a Dalek creature on Earth, we've got to stop it! You were a terrible father, and you've let me down. Oh my god, this alien is possessing a lady and wants to take over the world! Minan died, and you weren't there to pay your respects, you total bastard. There's some really cool and ludicrous ideas in Resolution, but the flow is interrupted by some really heavy shit once every 5 minutes or so. The heavy shit in Resolution could work on its own, but sat side by side with the stupid overblown pulp, it's awkward, dour, and just painful to sit through. In Demons of Punjab, the sci-fi stuff worked in tandem with the down-to-earth real-world heavy events. But in this, it's like that scene in Saranga Conundrum where Ryan stops the episode about little aliens that eat metal to talk about when he found his mum's dead body when he was a kid. I mean, I appreciate that Chris is trying to get me to care about these characters, but it just feels like two completely different episodes playing simultaneously. One scene, it's the fun episode. Next scene, the heavy episode. Fun episode. Heavy episode. Fun episode. Heavy episode. The conversation with Ryan's dad in the cafe could have been really effective, but it just feels like it lasts for fucking ever, because I'm just thinking, can we go back to the body horror Dalek stuff already? Because that's the closest that Series 11's been to being fun. I really do mean it when I say this, that I think that the 30 odd minutes of fun Dalek episodes stuck inside the 60 minutes of Resolution are probably some of Chris's finest Doctor Who work. They got their problems, sure, which I'm about to get to, but if they weren't broken up by the scenes that cause jarring tonal shifts every 5 minutes, then I'd probably be singing Resolution's praises and calling it proof that the Chibnall era's got potential. I'd watch a whole episode of this lady getting possessed by a Dalek and being controlled to build a rudimentary casing out of scrap metal. That's a pretty cool idea. I really like the incidental characters Lynn and Mitch, by the way. I love how Chris hasn't managed to get me to latch onto his main characters at all, but these two random archaeologists with the awkward beginnings of a romance felt more real to me right from their first scene than anything I've seen from Ryan, Graham and Yaz over 10 episodes. The dialogue's a bit clunky, but he seems to have accidentally created two very likeable characters, who I was really sorry to see shoved off onto the sidelines when the Doctor and co showed up. I feel this story probably should have been a Doctor Light episode. I know it's the New Year's special and, you know, we expect the Doctor, but bear with me here. So, in my version of Resolution, we open on the archaeologists with the beginning of a romance, they unearth this Dalek creature, she gets possessed, and the monster voice makes her go on the hunt for materials needed to build a makeshift casing and weapons from scratch. And that's all it is. That idea's plenty. I'd watch the shit out of that, a full-on Doctor Light body horror. I think considering this, that awful bit from Saranga Conundrum that I just mentioned, and pretty much the whole of Battle of Ranskoor, I think the main thing I'd like Chris to build on in Series 12 is just decide what story you want to tell and just tell it, rather than trying to do too many things at once. Follow a character, develop that character, get us invested in that character over the course of 45-50 minutes. Maybe, because we got too many companions, what Series 11 should have been is we should have had a Ryan-centric episode, a Yaz-centric one, a Graham-centric one, a Dr. Light one, and an ensemble piece here and there. Simplify and streamline your storytelling, because Resolution wasn't the worst, but it was definitely one of the messiest episodes I've seen. The key problem with the Dalek angle of the episode, which lots of people seem to have picked up on, is that, okay, the most dangerous creature in the universe is alone and vulnerable. It's got no casing, no weapons, and it's rebuilding itself. This should have been an opportunity to show how much damage a debilitated Dalek can do, but this Dalek does too good a job at repairing itself. The scrap metal casing that it's managed to finish in a couple of hours or so looks like a proper finished Dalek. You don't really get a sense that it trying to repair itself was much of a struggle. A lethal creature made weakened and vulnerable was something that was achieved perfectly in Dalek back in Series 1, but that Dalek had a casing and faulty weapons, but the situation's still frantic and urgent because of the character's focus on its limitations. The limitations that this Dalek is having to work against almost help to heighten the sense of danger. In Resolution, I'm supposed to believe a Dalek creature has fully rebuilt its travel machine out of scrap metal, complete with flight capabilities and rockets. This standoff with the army is climactic and entertaining, but it just doesn't work because my suspension of disbelief's gone by this point. Resolution gets carried away at around the 45-minute mark and goes over the top. You were this close to writing a visceral and dangerous Dalek story that's rough around the edges. All you needed to do was remove the flight, remove the rockets. It doesn't even need to fly to GCHQ, just get it to this scrapyard, get it to rebuild its casing out of scrap metal, get the army in, and have a standoff with a weakened, vulnerable Dalek where it shows its power and what it can do in spite of its limitations. Some soldiers die, but the army and the Doctor win in the end, and that's your ending. Simple. But no, Resolution has to overcomplicate things, and it flies to GCHQ and wants to take over the world. But the Doctor shows up and melts its casing, and it possesses Ryan's dad, and we resolve the whole broken family thing. The final 10 minutes totally undermine the urgency of the situation because they're so dumb and over the top. Oh, and this was a really inappropriate place to do that joke where the Daleks' plans involve making the internet go down on New Year's Day when nothing's open. So that's your stakes. Not a lot of people got fucking slaughtered by a homicidal alien killing machine. The stakes are, oh no, people will get a bit bored for a day. As I said earlier, it feels like Resolution was written in a hurry and at last minute, because there's no cohesion to any of its elements, and tonally it's all over the shop. It just feels like Chris didn't have a plan or an objective for this, and he was just making it up as he goes along. It's not totally without merit, of course, don't get me wrong, and I did enjoy it. It's easily some of the most fun I've had with a 13th Doctor episode. It's not done enough to rescue my overall opinion that Series 11 has been one of the duller seasons of Doctor Who, but Resolution had potential and had its moments. But we do have some lessons to build on for next time. Yeah, Chris? Yeah? Wait a sec. But, Stuart, what if being a fucking mess was thematically intentional? You know, the Dalek messily reconstructs itself, and the script is messy and feels like a first draft. See, it does work. Chris does know what he's doing, and that's what he meant to do all along. It wasn't a load of mistakes. Doctor Who is perfect. Shut up, hater. Oh, great. The more things change, the more they stay the same, right?